Hello. Life is full of peculiarities. You can be the nicest person in the universe, yet somehow, people will still try to find a way to drag you down. Unfortunately though, not everyone has arms, so I'll be installing a mod which enables a sniper to shoot me instead. So every time I'm not under the cover of a house, I risk being shot in one of my two precious thighs. There's a short sound warning before you're shot. However, my character will have a very hard time running away due to my traits. But what he lacks in endurance, he makes up for in his intellect and planning. Would Isaiah Meredith, would loser Larry be able to gather the strength he needed to survive in these trying times? And thus begins our story. Not of a hero, but of someone so pitiful that someone decided that they didn't need to live anymore. I begin pilfering for food that I can eat. Although most of it is rotten, I find some oats in a mug, and then I take a sip from the sink. I creep my way over to the bookshelf, for I yearn for knowledge. After all, it was my only upside. However, I only found a pen and an eraser, which I took, only to make me look smarter than I actually was. The rest of my tiny little house didn't really have much of interest, except a gun, which I snagged and put inside of my left shoe. I also got some new swag, which I outfitted myself in. And finally, it was time to take on the dangers of the outside world. I decided to check out my garage, which I forgot the key to, but luckily I was a master into breaking into my own things. Once again, nothing useful, except a screwdriver. Leaving the garage, it was time to go to the next house. And there I found my first fight. "I win," said Larry, thinking he was cooler than he actually was. I stole some clothes from my slain foe and I fitted myself with them, the truest trophy that fate could bestow upon me. Unto the next house. Doors held no chain upon me. I was a wild animal, hungry for loot. A militarized zombie, clothed to the brim with loot that I would love to use. Splendiferous goodies. I began to gear up, preparing for the future battles. And finally I found real weapons to defend myself with. I prepared myself, for my coming battles would be legendary. I dismissed the zombies as if it was my day job, although now I guess it was. Their riches were now mine. But even better, I found a bunch of trinkets in the bathroom, just waiting for me. And finally, a crown fit for a true king, that king being me. King Larry, they called me. No, nobody called me that, but they would. But to show them, I would have to bring justice upon this world. Then everyone would know King Larry. And justice I did show. Judgment! 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 And more judgment. Although I had the authority, it would take a toll on even the strongest of hearted souls. One should not be happy about sentencing another to death. But that was a struggle that Larry, he himself, had to console. So Larry continued on his journey, ruling with a fist of iron, but judging with his torn heart, for it seemed that he was not the real judge. Larry took a look at his map and made plans to move east, but not before a quick snack break. Although it may seem underwhelming, the journey to each new house was quite the task, as I could be shot at any moment. Each new home also brought with it repose. I could regain my bearings and rest within the confines of my mind. A sanctuary of thought, solace from the weariness of the world. What could I be but the keeper of my thoughts? For it is often the body that stands firm, and the spirit that gives way. I am the bearer of my destiny, forger of the path that lay ahead of me. The only one who can stop me is myself. But I had forgotten my truest hues, the man I once was, lost to the sands of a long, around 6-ish in-game hours. I had embraced darkness, and had become a shadow of my former self. My pursuer had caught on to me. I could hear him chambering around. I tried to hide in the car, but it was no use. My condition did not look good, and along with this, I was being chased. I temporarily bandaged myself and began to retreat. I relentlessly fought for this car, but in the end it seemed it was out for the count. I limped my way back home, and then I studied my options. A house to the north. It might have supplies that I need to suture my wound. I set out, but the amount of zombies were seemingly endless. My plan was to lure a few, kill them, and go back for more. But the universe had other plans. Mere moments before closing the door, another bullet rang out. I was double whammied. Somehow I mustered the strength to continue fighting, though. The condition was so bad that I began limping in random directions for no real reason. With no other options, I set out to the house once again. Another fight. I fumbled because of my injuries. Things were not looking good. I took some more time to rest, this time not in my brain, but rather the floor. But my journey had to continue. One zombie I could handle, but then there came 2, and then 3, and then 4. I took a tactical retreat, but all the while I didn't notice that I was slowly dying. And there it was. It seemed Larry truly was a loser. Or maybe that was just me.